Dashs Neighbourhood and Class Connect. So we're super excited to be doing this and getting more and more folks to set up the trial and get started. So again, my name is Rami Gaddis from Logix Academy. Super delighted to have you join us for today's session as part of our virtual training series on exploring Dashs Neighbourhood and Class Connect. And I'm super delighted to actually have a couple of folks from the team at Wonder Workshop from California and Florida and Chicago to be joining us to share this tool, and I'll be introducing them shortly. So most of you, if you're familiar with Logix Academy, a Canadian organization focused on STEM, robotics, and coding, with many tools in kindergarten to 12, including makerspace tools, fundamental learning to code and coding to learn curriculum that we'll be sharing on how to get access to that with Class Connect, and of course in-person and virtual PD that we do right across the country. With impact and reach across the country to many school districts and students and teachers, we're delighted to be continuing this training series. As well, if you haven't already jumped on joining the teacher community where you can continue to collaborate, we actually have a discussion group on Dashs Neighbourhood that's been active, where folks are asking about features, and we have folks on there around the clock supporting answers. So make sure to join, and who knows, maybe you can join and become an ambassador and get some free swag and robots to promote and share and support other teachers. Lastly, this series is probably brought to you by many partners from Microsoft, Wonder Workshop, MakeBlock, Intel. We're so delighted to have these key partners who can support our workshop series. And I'm super excited personally to introduce you today to Brian Miller and Dylan, who are awesome folks from Wonder Workshop team who've taken time to walk us through today Class Connect and Dashs Neighbourhood, this super exciting tool that's available for remote learning, blended learning, distance learning. I've used it myself several times, and I'm really super delighted to get the opportunity to share it with you and have them walk us through the platform. So without any further ado and to delve right into it, I'm going to pass the baton over to Brian from Wonder Workshop and have him walk us through the solution.
All right. Well, welcome everyone. And Remy, thank you so much for that introduction. It's a pleasure to connect with everyone. Are you able to see my screen okay on your end? All right. Thumbs up. Thank you. So as we get started, we are now presented in the world with a very new situation. And that new situation is what the new normal will look like for us. So before we dive into Class Connect, I do want to spend some time talking a little bit about what that new normal really will begin to look like for us, and how a tool like Class Connect and Dashs Neighbourhood will be able to help you move from the physical experience inside of the classroom and make it a virtual experience inside of the classroom. So I'm really proud to be joining you today. My name is Brian Miller. You can email me if you have any questions. I'm the Senior Director of Global Strategic Outreach at Wonder Workshop. I've been with Wonder Workshop for a little over 4.5 years now. I was the first educator that was hired. I was a former kindergarten teacher, K-5 computer teacher, and director of educational technology at one of the largest private independent schools in the United States prior to me joining Wonder Workshop, where I traveled the world keynoting and presenting all about the importance of physical computing and coding and play in our classrooms and in our environments. So now I get to work with schools and districts for Wonder Workshop and sharing all of the amazing things that they're doing to bring computer science into a tangible learning experience, and now a virtual learning experience as well. I have with me Dylan Portalance on our team. So Dylan, do you want to unmute yourself and introduce yourself as well?
Yep, can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Hey everyone, my name is Dylan Portalance. I'm a senior product manager at Wonder Workshop, and I've been with the company about 4 years, working across all kinds of different initiatives for education, including development of content for teachers and learners for Dash Robot, as well as the Q Robot. And most recently been working on a brand new tool that we're excited to demo for you today, Dashs Neighbourhood.
Perfect. And we'll hear more from Dylan in a couple of moments when we go in and we do the hands-on exploration of Dashs Neighborhood and Class Connect. So to get started, we are now in a new situation where many schools have closed a significant portion of their school year. And we are now wrapping up the school year. And the big question is, what does next year begin to look like for us? And this is the question that we are being presented with as educators, but also as a company for ourselves at Wonder Workshop. And our goal is to really support what schools are deciding to do, whether that is a physical learning experience in classroom time, or if they continue to explore the virtual world. And that's really one of the key differentiators between us and a lot of the other products that are out there, is that we now have a full virtual offering as well that allow you to use our robots in a virtual space where others you may not have been able to do that before. So we're excited to show that to you. And this is a product that we've spent a lot of time working on. Fortunately for us, we were already moving in this direction a little over a year and a half ago, and we spent a lot of time developing a lot of this content and this new way to engage with robots in a virtual simulated environment. And the timing, fortunately, just worked out for us in unfortunate circumstances. But we're excited to show this to you and how this will interact. So now the question is, what does the new normal look like? And schools are relying on distance learning, right? And the idea behind distance learning is we are trying to engage our students in what learning can continue to do through a virtual environment, whether that's through Zoom or Microsoft Teams or Skype or Google Hangouts or whatever your delivery method is. But the problem that we're beginning to see now is, how are we able to engage students in a lot of the supplemental activities that were done throughout the day? So we're seeing, teachers get creative in how they offer things like music education, art education, physical education, and now also coding and robotics. And, teachers are working to figure out ways to bring this experience to students, but the struggle is they don't have the resources to do the robotics side, because a lot of what they had to do required physical hands-on computing. So what we're able to do now is marry the physical and the virtual side, which you'll be able to explore a little bit more. But we have a lot of other issues that are starting to come to light, such as access to technology resources. So do our children have access, equitable access to the tools and resources to be able to learn, whether that is devices such as iPads or laptops or Chromebooks? And do they have internet access that allows them to do the work that is needed? We're also seeing a huge stress on online systems. So schools and districts are really working and spending a lot of time on developing new policies, procedures, and resources to be able to support the online systems that are being used. And we saw this heavily when schools started to make this transition into a virtual teaching experience, where we saw learning management systems actually go down. I live in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, so I'm not far from Broward County and Miami-Dade County schools. And when Miami-Dade County, which is one of the largest public schools in the United States, decided that they were going to put all their students online, the learning management system went down. So how are we able to support these ongoing growth exercises that districts are working through as more and more children and teachers are getting online? The other big piece that we notice is that we are now requiring teachers to teach in a virtual environment. And for many of you, you have not been trained on this, right? We are aware that this is new for a lot of people. Not only have you as the teacher not been trained on this, but children have not been trained on this either. And the parents that are supporting the work that you're doing, because they are really your second line here in providing ongoing education. So they're not even prepared for this as well. And how do we prepare them for this new world as well? And then how do we deliver services beyond the academic responsibilities? It's uncertain next year that we know if all schools will open. And this is going to be determined, on a province by province basis, state by state basis, country to country basis. We're starting to hear things, how schools are going to begin to transition into either a continued virtual learning experience or an in-person learning experience. This is all going to look very, very different for us moving forward. So how can we as Wonder Workshop support the work that you're doing? And I'm going to share a lot of resources with you today that will help you with that. And how do we mix in the distance learning with the in-person learning as well too? And that's what we're going to focus on as well as we're talking about Dashs Neighborhood and Class Connect. So the current situation is that schools closed mid-semester, and we had to quickly jump in and figure out what it is that we are going to do in order to continue ongoing learning in light of COVID-19 pandemic. And Johns Hopkins University has been at the forefront of all of this data collection and research that's going on with how schools are managing all of the new education requirements that are happening. And what Bob Balfons, a professor at Johns Hopkins University, shares inside of a great article that he produced is it's exposing gaps throughout the country. And the hope is that this is an opportunity to begin to fill these gaps in education. So we are now learning that there is, technical requirements that states and cities are required to have in order to provide equitable access across internet for children, because internet is now a requirement for schools. This is no longer something that you can afford to do. This has now become something that is a requirement that everyone should have. So talks of the internet becoming a basic utility and being, provided for those that are underprivileged. It's a really big conversation that we're starting to see a lot of countries begin to discuss as we move forward. So these different gaps that we're coming across now have to be addressed by schools, districts, and educational technology companies to support the work that you're all doing. So what we need to work on now are solutions that will be able to provide in-home learning environments and in-person learning environments as schools determine how they're going to safely reopen for the upcoming school year. What we need to be able to do is provide easy, anytime access for students, especially those in low-income households. So these are tools and resources that anyone can access anywhere that they're at. And this is really what schools, districts, and ed tech companies are really focusing on providing. We also want to be able to make this learner-centric, engaging to the students, and also motivate them when they're at home. And what you're going to see is we are able to bring in the joy, the love, the excitement, the passion of Dashs Neighborhood into a virtual environment the same way that you would experience Dash in a physical environment. So as Dylan goes through and shows you some of the capabilities such as lights, colors, sounds, sensors, we've been able to mimic that in a virtual world to bring that same awe and inspiration to those students to keep them motivated. But now also what we need to do, since we are becoming a more virtual learning environment, is be able to track and provide students' performance and learners' performance over time. And we're beginning to see the requirement of this as more states and countries require computer science as a requirement for children to experience through their K through 12 learning experiences. So what we are able to do inside of Class Connect is track children through their learning through a scope and sequence to determine whether they are understanding these concepts, but also be able to provide differentiated instruction to these students as well too, so they are able to continue to learn based on their individual learners' needs. We know that that computer science shouldn't be a one size fits all. So by being able to provide these resources is extremely important to teachers as they begin to further implement computer science throughout their learning. So the place to get started, where we're going to walk you through all this momentarily, is the Wonder Workshop My Wonder Workshop portal. It's found at portal.makewonder.com. It is completely free for you to sign up for. This is your one-stop shop as a teacher for where you need to go to access everything a teacher needs to be successful inside of Wonder Workshop's infrastructure and environment. So you're going to find in there Class Connect. You're going to find in there access to where you'll be able to use Dashs Neighborhood, ongoing professional development, our teacher community. There's lots of stuff inside of here that we offer. So for example, we have our home learning toolkits, both for teachers and parents, which provide ongoing unplugged and plugged activities that are completely free for you to be able to share with your students and with your families as they are looking to engage in computer science outside of the classroom. We also have a Teach Wonder Home Learning Edition that we built. So we have our Teach Wonder course that's designed for teachers, which is either a 15-hour course or a 12-hour course. The 15-hour course introduces you as the teacher to Dash and Dot. The 12-hour course introduces you to our Q robot, but we put together a free home learning edition for parents to be able to better understand how to use robots and coding inside of their home environment. that is also found inside of our portal. We have access to our virtual summit, which Logix was a big part of, and Remy and their team were incredible sponsors throughout this event. We held this at the beginning of April, where we had over 6,000 educators across a 2-week event with 38 online PD workshops that were completely free to experience. We are continuing to leave that material free for you to be able to go back and watch all of those great presentations on how to implement Dash.Q in the arts, in music, in sports, in curricular areas. These are great resources and lessons and trainings that our educators that are actively using our products put together and created this. So that's found inside of there as well. We also have our free access to Dashs Neighbourhood, which is free until June 30th. And then after June 30th, you get a 30-day free trial. So Dylan will walk through all that momentarily. We also have access to our cross-curricular lesson library that will remain free through the end of the school year, June 30th. And we've taken our Wonder League robotics competition and we've created a great at-home Wonder Challenge. It's a 9-week program that allows you with your children at home to be able to experience Dash and Dot in either plugged or unplugged challenges, where if you have a robot at home, that's great. You can participate and be a part of that. Even if you don't have a robot at home, you can still participate and win great prizes inside of that Wonder Challenge as well. Now, Dylan's going to show you momentarily what Class Connect is, but briefly, Class Connect is the ability for you to be able to track and follow students over time inside of our Blockly puzzles. So Dylan will be walking you through the process of setting that up, how it works, and some of the data you're going to be able to receive behind that. But also the beauty of what we've just launched is the ability to interact with Dashs Neighbourhood, which is a virtual learning experience where you have the ability to go inside of Dashs Neighbourhood, a virtual world where you're able to program Dash through either Blockly puzzles that will grow and scaffold with those students as they're working through the different puzzles. It's providing you, the teacher, feedback on how they're performing inside of Class Connect. And it also allows children to go in through the free play area where they're able to design their own code and be able to use this as a prototyping tool for the robot. And what I absolutely love about the ability that we have with Dashs Neighbourhood is the ability to prototype before actually seeing this come live in person in front of me when I bring the robot in. I'm able to use my computer. In this case, for Dashs Neighbourhood, currently it requires a Chrome browser. On Chromebooks, I'm running it on a Windows PC. It works across MacBook Pros on Chrome browser as well. It's coming soon for iPads, so that'll be ready to go at the beginning of the school year. But what you're able to do is you're able to build your program inside of Dashs Neighbourhood. I can then pair my robot to my device, and I can see everything that I just prototyped on screen come to life in front of me inside of Dashs Neighbourhood. So you're going to see that more in a moment as Dylan explores that. So I want to share with you just briefly some benefits and some features that you have when you're using this. So one of the key features here is you're able to provide now every student access to a robot, where before, when we're using our physical robots, having Dash actually in our physical environment, we might not have enough robots for every child in the classroom. But what this allows you to do is to give every student in your classroom a virtual Dash robot that can do everything Dash can do. And when they're ready to pair a physical robot to it, then they have the ability to test it out in their environment. So every child gets the ability to use and program a robot on their screen. The same delightful robot is inside of a virtual world. So as I mentioned, you have full access to everything that you would be able to do with Dash, such as sound recording, lights, sensors, which is awesome. And you're going to see how that works as well. But this allows you to engage every student, allows you to continue developing their 21st century skills through a coding and robotics curriculum, and allows you to bring in physical computing and virtual computing. And we are now the only product that really offers this, the ability to use a virtual robot in how deep you can go with it and have a physical robot to pair with it immediately as well too. It works with Blockly puzzles and Class Connect, so you're going to be able to use all of the Blockly puzzles inside of that virtual world, and you'll be able to see the work that the students are doing. You'll be able to help and implement coding and robotics and provide students a structured scaffolded experience as they work through all of these different puzzles. And then students can easily create their own code in a sandbox environment, as I mentioned, which is a prototyping tool. So without further ado, I'm actually going to unshare my screen here because I want you all to see this. And I'm going to have Dylan jump in, and he's going to share the screen on his end so he can walk you through what this looks like, how it works, and how to get it all set up. So Dylan, go ahead and take it away.
Cool, thanks, Brian. So I'm actually going to turn off my camera because I've found that sometimes it's good to save a little bandwidth here while I'm sharing my screen. And I'm going to go ahead and open up Dashs Neighborhood. Let's get right to it. So as Brian mentioned, the Dash robot, our goal has always been to create the most engaging tool, the most engaging robot to learn with for students. And we are honored to hear from thousands of schools all the time that teachers and students both love programming this robot. So when we were creating Dashs Neighborhood, we wanted to address two things. One was we wanted to be able to make that same engagement that you get from the physical robot take place online from any device, from anywhere. So of course, we're in an environment right now where students need to be able to do remote learning, where teachers need to be able to facilitate lessons, whether it's on Zoom or through other interfaces. Students need access to this tool from wherever they are. The second thing is pairing Dashs Neighborhood with a tool called Class Connect, which I'll show after I demonstrate Dashs Neighborhood, makes it easy for teachers to give students a sequence of content that they can reliably know will fit the scope and sequence for coding and robotics, and also gives them the ability to check in on progress and help students as they need it. But let's talk about Dashs Neighborhood first, because this is a really awesome and fun way that you can check out the Dash robot and coding with it. So first of all, I'm in this full screen mode just to give you a sense of what this simulator looks like. We're in this 3D world that Dash can drive around in, and you can also program Dash to move through. But I'm just going to take a quick loop around the area just so you can see some of the things that are part of this. You'll notice that there's actually a grid on the bottom of the screen, or on the bottom of the world, which is similar to the grids that we use in classrooms and also in our Wonder League robotics competition. And all of these different destinations that you see in the environment are actually based on the content in our puzzles, which we'll also show. Let me take you out of full screen mode and actually get to some coding with Dash. So on the left side of the screen is our Blockly programming language. We have a menu of different blocks that you can use to write instructions for Dash or programs. And you can just drag them out to program Dash. So I'm going to do a few simple demonstrations of what Dash can do by programming Dash with these blocks. So first of all, let's talk about driving. For all of the different instructions for Dash, there's actually a visual interface that you can use to dial up and dial down the distance that you want Dash to move, the speed you want Dash to move, or even the angle of Dash's rotation or head turn. So I'm just going to write a very simple program where Dash is going to move in a square. And I'm just going to add some forward blocks and left turns. And Dash is just going to move 60 centimeters 4 times. So just a simple program to demonstrate Dash driving, following those instructions from top to bottom. And I'm going to keep checking out some of the different features in this programming language here. I'm going to move my program into the trash can and kind of start anew. You can also control the head motion for Dash, so being able to turn the head left and right and select how far you want that head to move. I can turn around here and actually see Dash moving its head and control the simulator using my mouse so I can get a view from the top down or from the front so I can see what's going on. I can also control the lights on Dash, including even these eye lights, and I'll zoom in here a little bit so that you can see. I'm just going to make a little smiley face here. And one of students' favorite things is actually programming with sounds, and teachers love it too because you can program custom sounds with Dash. So if you want to be able to do a storytelling activity where Dash plays a character in a story and be able to do some ELA integration, or if you just want to explore the different sounds available here, there's all kinds of different sounds to choose from, and those are a lot of fun as well. And then, of course, what would a programming language be without the ability to do things like loops, event handling, variables? I'm just going to demonstrate a couple different ways that you can interact with input on Dash in the simulator, just like you can with the physical robot in the real world. So in this particular case, I'm going to make a simple program where I wait for the top button, and then I'll have Dash drive off. And notice when I dragged out this wait for Dash top button block, this little robot input on the bottom right appears. Basically, any time that you have input for Dash in your program, this tray of inputs will appear so that students can interact with the robot. In this particular case, the robot doesn't move forward right away. It's waiting for me to press this top button for Dash. And I'm just going to click the top button just like I would in the real world, tapping the button on the top of Dash's head. And that's what's going to make Dash move forward. Of course, the robot also has infrared sensors so that it can sense objects in front of it and in back of it. And this is a lot of fun in the real world. You can kind of stick your hand in front or stick your foot in front. In the simulated environment, we've also made it possible for students to use the infrared sensors or the distance sensors as a way to make their programs more interactive. So in this case, the robot's going to move backwards as soon as it senses something in front of it. And notice that the obstacle in front button has just appeared on the bottom right here. I'm going to hit play. And then I'm just going to trigger this obstacle in front. You can see what that looks like. So similar to in the real world, when you would put your hand in front of the robot to trigger its sensors, we have a way that you can do that in the virtual environment as well. So there's many more things that are available in this programming language. One last thing that I'll show is we have a series of animations which are really fun for students because you can do something a little bit more involved with the robot that's preset. So we have lots of little dances and animations built in, especially when you want to add a little celebration to the end of a program when you've solved a difficult problem. So this is basically a way that kids can program freely with the robot. They can create custom projects and they can kind of have an infinite canvas to build upon. But of course, given that we're talking about distance learning and how teachers can actually facilitate Dashs Neighborhood to do computational thinking and have students go through a scope and sequence of coding skills, let's talk about something else which is called puzzles. So I'm just going to click on the top left menu here. And of course, my project will be saved in My Projects. But within our Dashs Neighborhood environment, we also have a sequence of puzzles. And the puzzles are basically a way that students can get to know the basics of coding and robotics by programming simple, by solving simple challenges with the Dash robot. So at the very beginning of our puzzle sequence, this is what's called driving school. So it's a series of challenges where you can get Dash's engine going, learn how to drive Dash, and then create simple sequences of instructions to solve problems with Dash. So first of all, this is a very, very simple one. Press the start button to get Dash's engine going. So the program's already ready for me here with Dash's car engine, and I'm just going to hit the play button to run that program. And I hear the car engine. And the app will actually just send me to the next challenge if I've solved it. And if I haven't, it will let me know that I can try again and also provide hints if I need them. So I'll just move through a few of these simple problems from the very beginning of our sequence. This one says, connect the blocks to teach Dash how to drive forward. Press start to run your program. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish that challenge by connecting the start block to the forward fast block. And I'm going to hit the play button to test my program. Now, of course, I'm driving Dash. And I'm going to do one more of these just for the sake of demonstration. This particular one says, drag and stack one block from the drive menu to teach Dash how to drive backward. So I'll test that. Yeah. So students can individually go through these sequences of challenges, but what's really important is that teachers are also able to, as students are doing this independently from different places, whether it's at home with their families or somewhere else, teachers need to be able to check in on where students are at, see how they're struggling or succeeding with some of these concepts, and also be able to provide help. So what I'm now going to show is how we use a tool called Class Connect for teachers to be able to track the progress of students through these sequences of challenges and provide students with the help that they might need, as well as find additional resources. So right now I'm in the student experience, Dashs Neighborhood, which is at code.makewonder.com. But I'm going to go ahead and shift over a tab to portal.makewonder.com. And this is our destination for teachers to be able to use the different tools available to them by Wonder Workshop. And the tool that I want to show right now is called Class Connect. So what I've been doing is actually going through this series of puzzles in a profile. And you can see right here which profile I'm in. This is Paige's profile. So I have a number of different students here. And the way that I've created these profiles for my students is through Class Connect. So in Class Connect, I have all my classrooms here, and I also have all of my students. And what you'll notice right away is that for each of these students, there's a series of boxes here with check marks and exclamation points. This is the sequence of content that is available to students in Dashs Neighborhood, along with the progress that they've recorded. So I was logged in as Paige just now, and what you'll see is all three of the challenges that I just completed are represented here with these check marks. And if I dive a little bit deeper, I can actually see the solution that that student provided, as well as the suggested solution from Wonder Workshop. So recall that I solved a problem where you turn on Dash's car engine. That's represented here. I can go to the next one where I had Dash move forward. That's recorded here. And then the last challenge that I solved using Paige's profile was moving the robot backwards. And what you'll notice is that there's also these exclamation points. So earlier I was solving some challenges as Brian, and he actually reached this fourth challenge and then got stuck. And this is what it looks like from the teacher's point of view if a student has attempted to solve a challenge but isn't quite there yet. So on the left side of the screen, you'll see that Brian, moved his backward block and tested that with the robot, but hadn't yet moved the forward blocks into the right sequence. So he tested that code, and the teacher can see, okay, this is what Brian has done, and then this is what the recommended solution is from Wonder Workshop. So they can very quickly close the gap for that student if they need a little bit of help. The other important piece of information here is the amount of time spent. So in this particular case, if I want Brian to solve some of these challenges independently and he's spent less than 1 minute, perhaps it's not time yet for me to provide some help or for me to give him a hint. But if that time span has been longer, maybe it's time for myself as a teacher to actually provide some instruction or to help out Brian with this challenge. And for a lot of these challenges that I've demonstrated so far, the solutions are pretty simple, a few blocks here and there. But as you get further along our scope and sequence, and as you start engaging with some of the more advanced concepts in our scope and sequence, whether it's event handling, variables, conditionals, functions, loops, or any combination of those concepts, the programs that students are solving get a little more sophisticated, and it becomes really valuable to have these solutions and these resources available for teachers as students are going through the content. So what this does is it makes it possible for students to solve these different challenges in Dashs Neighborhood and then for teachers to be able to facilitate as those students go through the content independently. I also want to mention that from this tool, it's very easy to create your classrooms, to add students, to move them around. I'm just going to show you what it looks like to create a classroom. I'm going to call this Logic's Classroom. And I'll make this a second grade classroom. And I'm just going to go ahead and add Remy. And I can also add multiple students at once if I like, dragging from a CSV or something like that. But in this case, I've created a Logic's Classroom. I've added Remy's profile. And immediately what I can do as a student is access that profile from the Blockly app. So here's my Logic's Classroom. And then here's Remy's profile. And just like that, I can get in here and start solving some puzzles with Dashs Neighbourhood. So it's super easy for students to get started with the content, and also super easy for teachers to be able to check student progress, take a look at their solutions, and provide help as needed. So I'm going to hand this back to, or actually, before I do that, you're probably wondering, how can I access these tools? So we have a free trial available on our website, and the easiest way to get there is to just go to portal.makewonder.com. And at portal.makewonder.com, you can go to Class Connect and start a free 30-day trial, which will allow students to access the Blockly app with Dashs Neighbourhood, as well as allow teachers to set up classrooms for their students and be able to track that progress as they go through the content. So I'm going to hand it back to Brian now.
All right. So Dylan, I appreciate you sharing that info. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share back my screen again so we can provide a little bit more information here, because I know that some questions had popped up about how it works for the teachers using it across their environments or their classrooms. So what we've done is we have a couple of different subscription packages. Now, as Dylan mentioned, we do have our 30-day free trial that gives you the ability to work with one class of 35 students for 30 days. And then after that, you would want to purchase the Teacher Success Pack. So that provides you a year of the subscription, which gives you as your teacher account, your class of 35 students. And this is designed for like a standalone class if you have, you know, a K through 5 or K through 6 classroom and all of your students are self-contained inside of that environment. But it gives you access to those 35 students. You have full access to our Intro to Coding and Robotics with Dash and Dot, which is the training course. It also gives you the exclusive quarterly webinars that are designed to help you further engage your teaching and learning using Dashs Neighbourhood, Class Connect, and these are special webinars only for subscribers. So that's the first package. The second package is the Team Teaching Success Pack. And that's really designed if you are a teacher like a librarian or a computer specialist, where you would be able to have up to 2 teachers enrolled in there and all of your students inside of there, up to 500 students to Class Connect. It would allow you to build out multiple classrooms. So you would be able to set up each of those different classrooms throughout the day. So if you are a librarian or a specials area computer teacher, you might see, you know, 1 class a week. You would be able to build out those classrooms for each of those different classes that you're working with, and you would be able to track their progress inside of that space. Then the other pack that we have is our School Success Pack. And this is when you get to the point where all of your teachers want to start engaging with this inside of a school. And that's where we really want this to go, is where teachers are able to use this throughout the day inside of their everyday teaching and learning. So this would provide you up to 25 teachers, 500 students for you to go in and build out your different classrooms throughout your school, where they would be able to go in and they would be able to engage and track the progress through multiple classrooms. And one of the nice things that you can do inside of Class Connect is you can share classrooms with other teachers. So there's the ability for you to, if you are a computer lab specialist and you have all of the teachers inside of there building out their classrooms, you could be added as a teacher in there as well too. So then they would be able to come to your class during their once a week learning, where they would be in your space they would be continuing on with Class Connect, and then they'd go back into their classrooms, and the teacher, the actual classroom teacher, would have access to all that information as well too. So those are the 3 different tiers. Remy will be able to share through his website a little bit more on how to gain access to all of that information and how to go through the purchasing process. But these are designed to be able to take you from either a standalone classroom teacher to a specials area teacher where you're sharing access with one other classroom teacher, or everyone in your entire school having access as well. So if you have any questions, we're more than happy to jump on and answer them for you. And Dylan and I will be here to, take any of the questions that you guys have and answer them across the board here. And I know that there were 1 or 2 of them that did jump in originally, and that was more or less the how many teachers can be in there, how many classrooms, etc. But we're more than happy to help answer any additional questions, or if Remy, if there's anything that you'd like to add, we can easily jump in and do that as well.
Awesome. Well, first of all, I want to thank you both for your time and sharing the resources with us, and the benefit and value really to educators this time period, and being able to connect with students. And the nice thing is I'll share with all of you, even in currently, we've had some implementations of this with districts in Canada already, which is really exciting. Teachers actually using this with their students through this blended environment. As some of you know, depending where you are in the country, there's been back to school in the West Coast already. In the East Coast, it seems like that's being held off until September. So being able to manage and interact with your students in person and at home, all in this virtual environment, is really powerful. The other thing that I want to just highlight that's been really valuable, that didn't come up, is the really nice thing about this prototyping platform is even if you have a few robots in your school, whether you have maybe 6 robots in your classroom, historically, you might have set it up as stations or working groups. In this environment here, you can use, for example, your Chrome cart, and every single student's able to actually plan, get online, code their solutions to challenges or jump on puzzles. And when and if the hardware is available, they simply just add the hardware right on a Blockly, and all their code, all their projects, all their files are all there. They get tested then. The Dashs Neighbourhood hides away. The real robot gets connected. You work with that robot. This child gets to test their code in the physical world. And then once they turn off the robot, Dashs Neighbourhood pops right in, and they continue piloting and testing and prototyping their code in a virtual environment. And you can imagine that can happen once you go home or come back, etc.
Yeah, I want to quickly jump in, Remy, and just share, to that point. I mean, one of the things that people ask a lot is, now that you have a virtual robot, do we need to have the physical robot as well, too? And the answer is these are designed to support each other. And as Remy just shared, the use case where children are able to prototype, but also now be able to work from home. So before, children weren't able to take this home and actually use it because they didn't have a physical robot. But now, if you want to assign work to children outside of the classroom, they have access to a full robot. And when they get back into class, now they can pair it to that actual robot. The other thing that I want to quickly add that we didn't really touch base on is the ability to share programs, right? I mean, that's really important, is children being able to create a program, share the work with another child, and be able to collaborate on that. So you have the ability to create a program key that you can share with another student, and they can go in and they can work on that themselves. That allows them to iterate or change the program on their end too. So with the sharing and with the physical piece, that's so big, because we do not want to take away from the experiences that children have when interacting with the robot in the physical realm, right? Because there are variables that a computer screen cannot actually simulate for us, right? A child running in front of the robot and making the sensor go off. I mean, those are things that we can only really experience in the real world. So this is really designed to help prototype and really give the child an opportunity to get a feeling as to how the program is going to work, and then see it in their physical space and try to problem solve based on their physical environment. So I just wanted to add that point in there as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So I see a couple of questions here just to answer them there. Aaron, you were asking about teaching a class of 30 to code, but running others. So can you have more than 30 students? Absolutely. So if you just head over to the free trial or any of the packages available, there is the Team Teaching Success Pack, which gives you up to 500 students. So you can essentially be the coding or robotics teacher with a colleague and up to 500 students. So really a full implementation for the school, or a full school implementation with all the students. And what's really nice is all these are also available with robotic kits. So you can also get them included now in your classroom pack. So even if you're looking for a few robots, you get access to all the students. So that's available, and that you can take advantage of during this time period. The second question that came up is around profiles, and I think Brian alluded to that. When students log in, I shouldn't say log in, when students access Dashs Neighborhood with the teacher code, they're able to access all their projects. They could still continue on with all the sharing. So if we can, if we create a project here together, or if I have all my existing projects, and I can create that new project. Once I create that project and I'm inside Dashs Neighborhood, I can actually go ahead and share that Logix test project, get my share code, and now that I have my share code, I can share that with my friends. I can share that with my educators. I can share that with other educators. So if any of you at home right now enter, 2 Golf Papa Sierra, you'll be able to see my code, which is a blank code right now, but you'll be able to download that simply by just starting a new project in your profile. And when you create a new project, you're actually, when you go to your avatar profile, you're actually able to load in projects and download some of the activities that someone else has used for you under my project. So you click the download arrow here, and that allows you to actually enter that code that someone else gave you, and you get to see what that project looks like. And so you can do sharing across virtual environments between students, between a student and a teacher. And actually, when you download it, you have the ability to save it now in your profile. So yes, Aaron, they won't lose their projects. There's ways to share it and connect it and link it into their profile.
You're a pro, Remy.
And are there any other questions from the group at the moment? I as I've shared with you, urge all of you to take some time to create your own account, try it out with your students. If anything, if you could spend the month of June just engaging a couple of students in each of your classrooms, that's a wonderful way to get them to try it, a wonderful way for you to learn how to code. And remember, by no means do you have to be an expert. So that's the key message here. The platform allows to support your students throughout this whole process. And if you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to reach out to your account manager, depending on where you are at Logix, and as well, or just directly at education@logixacademy.com. And again, I want to take a moment to thank the folks from Wonder Workshop who joined us on this session. It's so awesome to have them alongside in our series of learning. They're a wonderful group. But I see there's a couple more questions, and we'll be around for the next 15 minutes or so. So if you have more questions, don't hesitate to ask. So I see a question around the competition. I'll turn it over to one of you folks to answer what's happening with, of course, the skill set will help in the competition, but I wonder what's happening with that. So that's maybe Brian or Dylan, if you want to take that on.
Sure, I'll go ahead and take that. So Tim's asking, will that help with the competition? And absolutely. So Dashs Neighborhood is a great way for you to be able to work through your programs prior to actually launching the competition. Now, the Wonder League Robotics competition is completely free. It takes place from October until the end of March, April timeframe. So it's actually wrapping up right now, and we'll be announcing our winners for this year's competition next week, actually. But what you're able to do inside of this, and right now inside of Dashs Neighborhood, we don't have the accessories and things in there yet. That's stuff that we are going to continue to work and build into. But what this allows you to do is prototype your code prior to actually running it through your environment. Now, as Dylan mentioned, and the layout and the structure of all of the different the grid spaces, those mirror our physical mats that we actually offer. So they're 30 by 30 centimeter squares along the dark orange outlines, and the small inner squares are 10 by 10 centimeters. So what you're able to do is you can at least start to plan out the programming that you're going to need to do through that virtual experience, pair your robot to it, add on your accessories, the things that you're building on to the robot to solve your challenges, and then execute your code. So this is a great way to get all of your students collaborating on some of the beginning pieces of your concept for your code inside of there. So I highly encourage it for competition use. And as we, launch our competition in the upcoming year, there might be some additional ways that we are able to incorporate the Dashs Neighborhood inside of that experience. That's stuff that we're actively discussing. Erin had a question in here, and Dylan, I'll let you answer this, but this is, her kids have profiles on school iPads currently. Can she transfer those to a classroom when she makes one inside of Class Connect or Dashs Neighborhood?
Yeah, that's a great question. So unfortunately, the answer right now is that there's not an immediate direct transfer mechanism. What we've made possible is a few things for folks that already have programs in progress. So one, it is possible to, through the project key that Remy was just demonstrating, to share programs that way. Two, if you already have programs on your iPad, when you connect your teacher code and start using Class Connect, those programs are still on that iPad. They just aren't transferred to the cloud for the teacher at this time. And then the third thing is, if students have already made progress through the puzzles, you can actually manage from the Class Connect dashboard where those students will start in that puzzle sequence by unlocking or resetting puzzles from there. So unfortunately, not a direct transfer of the programs in progress from those local profiles per se, but those are some things that we've done to hopefully make it a little bit easier for you if you already have progress.
That was a great question. Thanks, Dylan.
Yeah, and I'll just add one last thing. I know in Canada there was quite a bit as part of the COVID period and remote learning. There's quite a bit of launch of free iPads or iPad support given out to students at home and families at home. So it is exciting to know that even though it's not available yet, Dashs Neighborhood will be coming to iPad hopefully for back to school period. I know lots of you have been asking about that. We've gotten a lot of questions outside of this platform, but a lot of questions in general around Dashs Neighborhood on iPad for students. But so stay tuned. That is coming. Right now, it's available on Chrome browser for Chromebooks, as well as Mac OS and Windows. But iPad is coming soon.
Yeah, Christy has a question. Where's the best place to find out about student profiles on iPad as well? So we'll be announcing the iPad capabilities at the beginning of the school year. So the best place to follow along with that information is on our is right on Logic's website, which is where Remy was pointing you to. Also the Wonder Workshop website. And if you sign up for the portal, when you sign up, you will be a part of our mailing list. So you will be notified when that stuff gets set up and ready to go for you to access at the beginning of the school year through an email as well too. So we'll keep you up to date on when that's going to happen. And our go time for that is the beginning of this upcoming school year. We know that iPads are used in a lot of schools, and we want to make sure that we're supporting everything at this point. So so we are actively working on the development of that, and that will be ready for the beginning of the school year.
That's
happy
awesome.
to answer any other questions. Yeah.
Yeah, well, again, I want to say thank you guys for your time and sharing your knowledge and expertise in the platform. I'm sure most folks have already started. If not yet, we'll start to jump on Class Connect and try it out as part of the free trial. And again, if you have any questions after today, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Education@logicsacademy.com, and I'm sure you can connect with folks at Wonder Workshop directly as part of the Class Connect trial. We're all here to help you make sure that the students are getting the best experience out of this time period, as well as when we go back to school. So the key thing is focusing on student learning experience. At the end of the day, that's why we're all doing this. So that's the most important part, and we hope this is a tool that you can use to engage your students during this time period and on an ongoing basis. Again, my name is Remy from Logix. I've been super pleased to have the folks from Wonder, Brian and Dylan. Thank you so much. And we hope that all of you stay safe, healthy, and continue to learn and stay in touch with us through our virtual training series. We have about 40 different workshops every week with different topics. The folks from Wonder are back tomorrow on an exciting session all about Dash's robot guts. So we're going to take a delve deep inside Dash, see the mechanics, the electronics, the software. For all of you folks out there, I'm excited about that session. Check out logicsacademy.com/virtual training to learn more about that session and others. And again, have a wonderful afternoon, or I guess it's no longer morning and 2 o'clock. Oh, it could be, depending on where you are across the country. Again, take care, stay safe, and we'll be in touch soon.
Thanks, everyone.